On behalf of Brian's family, I'd like to thank you all for coming this morning. On behalf of all of you, I want to thank Brian's family for making us feel so welcome in these past 5 days as we try to come to terms with the loss that we're all feeling. The Mass will begin at 10 o'clock. In the time that we have between now and then, a few people wanted to offer some reflections about what it was like to have known Brian. And some others will probably speak after communion. The poet Khalil Gibran said this: "Only when I have drunk from the river of silence will I truly begin to sing." These words offer me great comfort on this very sad day, for they remind me that the earthly life of our good friend Brian is but a prologue to the even richer life that he has now begun. In recent days, since we heard the sad news on Friday night, I've tried to picture Brian as he made the transition from this life to the next. I've been able to imagine that as he crossed over, he was met by his father, Andrew, and by his brother, Anthony. And the thought of the joy of such a reunion in the presence of God is truly staggering. But Brian being Brian, I would expect that in his quiet way, he wasted no time searching out the likes of George Bailey, Floyd Melody's Free Simon, and all the other nameless ones who shaped the culture he so loved. He'd want to see what they're up to now, and he would probably want to video them. I'd be a little surprised if this man, Brian, who had the ingenuity to put Sophia in the water, is not soon teaching the saints and the apostles how to wine. I learned long ago that for Brian, the sacred and the profane are, as in the Hindu tradition, equally a part of that great infinity that is God. Last Saturday, some of you may have heard Vaughn Martin's eloquent tribute to Brian. Vaughn correctly noted that Brian had never received the kind of recognition that he deserved. But part of that reason, I think, is because Brian never sought it out. Though he was very much a public figure and frequently he was at center stage, he was there to promote the culture and not himself. I feel I can say without qualification that no man has ever loved his culture or his country more than Brian Walker. Indeed, it seems appropriate in recent weeks as Brian faced death with the honesty, the courage, and dignity that marked his life, that he was determined, it seemed, to taste all his beloved Trinidadian food one last time. He wanted roti from Teddy, callaloo from Rita, pilau from Addie, oxtail soup from Negril. And those returning from Carnival in Trinidad were given strict instructions to bring food from Warbank and some type of mango you can only get to Sandy Grande. His brother-in-law, Ray Gonzalez, for whom Brian had great admiration and affection, found a piece of sugar cane that someone brought over them. And appropriately, the last thing that Brian ever had to eat was the sweet juice that this cane had grown in the soil of his beloved Trinidad. Brian's love for his country was exceeded only by his love for his family. Many of us here today at one time or another have been swept into that great, affectionate whirlwind known as the Walker family. I am hard-pressed to think of any other group of people who were once great individualists and yet care more deeply for one another. Mrs. Walker, through your children, you and your late husband unleashed on the world a powerful force of great love. The caring and the commitment to one another which you have instilled in them, which they extended to Brian, and which they in turn have embraced us, will do much to sustain all of us in the puzzling days ahead as we try to fashion our lives without Brian. For in all honesty, we've come here today not to mourn Brian, but to mourn for ourselves. After having been so privileged to experience the full force of this extraordinary man pass through our lives like some kind of benevolent hurricane, we are at a loss to know how we will be able to sustain ourselves on the slipstream of receding memory. But to Mrs. Walker, and to Andre, and Vicky, and to Michael, Maggie, Monica, Gemma, Grace, Derek, Valerie, and special affection to Fred, as well as to everyone here, I will say this. If you look for Brian, you can see it. In the corner of the mass camp, where bits and pieces are being transformed into glory, Brian lived. In the barnyard where cast-off oil drums create music worthy of angels, Brian lived. In those places where brass bands like chaos, which he was kind of a godfather, create a beat to demand the response, Brian lives. In the sound of the African drums that so often lifted his feet in jubilation, Brian lives. In the face of a child who is seeing mass for the first time, or a promoter who has handed out flyers for effect, or a limbo dancers down so low they whistle in the bottom of the road, Brian lives. In the celebration of the midnight robber and the jab jab, and Minchell and Barclay and Rye and Sparrow and Walcott and Nightfall, Brian lives. In sanctuaries like this, in Monticello's Europe Temple, or the Grotto of Lords, which meant so much to Brian these past weeks, wherever men and women stop to light a candle and consider the mind of God, Brian lives. And when on the last Saturday in June, when you see the explosion of color and imagination as known as DC Carnival loose itself down Georgia Avenue, you will know that Brian lives. In the high mass, Brian lives. In the mud mass, Brian lives. In 1,000 Drew-based in Brooklyn and in Boston, in Baltimore and Atlanta, in Toronto and in Miami, and especially in the Queen's Park Savannah, look for him. You will see him. Brian lives.
And I know